1899 marks a violent intersection in American history. It's the exact moment untamed wilderness collides head-on with the brutal, smoking engine of industrialization. The United States is entering the progressive era, and for the Vanderlyn gang, this means they are standing at the absolute end of the Wild West. The frontier is rapidly closing around them. Video games typically rely on a familiar power fantasy. You start weak, level up, and eventually conquer the world. Here, you step into the boots of Arthur Morgan, a highly capable veteran enforcer. But his skills, his worldview, and his entire way of life are immediately rendered obsolete. Arthur Morgan's journey focuses on the slow dismantling of his own worldview. As the modern world moves in, his long-held loyalties to an outlaw code become a philosophical trap he can no longer escape. You aren't playing to win the West. You are experiencing the suffocating inevitability of a dying era, acting as a dinosaur, hopelessly watching the meteor hit. To make you feel that weight, Rockstar built the game around a philosophy of consequence and maintenance. It grounds you in reality through deliberate, incredibly slow mechanics. You have to perform obsessive, everyday tasks just to survive. You manage Arthur's diet so he doesn't become underweight. You dress him for freezing temperatures. You watch his hair grow in real time. And you painstakingly disassemble and scrub the dirt out of his revolver by the campfire. The game's Euphoria physics engine and dynamic AI extend this friction to your horse. The animal has its own self-preservation instincts. It will avoid cliffs and spook at predators. And because you can only carry a few weapons on your back, you are forced to physically rely on this creature to carry the rest of your inventory. This dynamic simulation is sophisticated enough to mirror real-world social tensions. In the town of Saint Denis, you encounter suffragettes marching for the right to vote. An inclusion the Journal of the Gilded Age and Progressive Era noted was designed to anchor the game in the era's shifting political landscape. That same AI complexity turns the gang's moving camp into a living organism. NPCs operate completely independently of you, maintaining daily routines, remembering past conversations, and holding grudges based on how you treat them. These deliberate, sometimes frustrating mechanics trick you into forging a physical bond with Arthur. They prove that you are not the center of the universe. You are just a single gear grinding inside a massive, indifferent machine. As you settle into this rhythm, the narrative's literary roots begin to show. The gang is led by Dutch van der Linde, a charismatic figure whose anti-establishment, anarchist ideology slowly rots into paranoia and violence. Rather than leaning on standard cinematic action tropes, the writers looked to 19th-century authors like Charles Dickens and William Makepeace Thackeray to map the gradual, painful breakdown of a found family. The tragedy peaks when Arthur contracts tuberculosis. The game mechanizes his physical decline. Your health and stamina cores deplete faster, and your ability to eat food is strictly limited as coughing fits interrupt your recovery. This creates a fascinating psychological space. Through the honor system, you experience a delicate push and pull between the writer's scripted decline and your own choices as a player, trying to do right with the time you have left. By strictly mechanizing sickness, the game forces you to intimately confront vulnerability and mortality. It takes a standard outlaw story and transforms it into a deeply interactive tragedy of empathy. This tragedy plays out against a meticulously crafted backdrop. Art director Aaron Garbett didn't base the lighting on spaghetti westerns, but on the luminous, pastoral landscapes painted by 19th-century artists like Albert Bierstadt. As the gang's situation deteriorates, so does the environment. The lighting directors modeled the turbulent skies and chaotic storms, Turner, perfectly reflecting the narrative collapse. Underneath these visuals is a massive, interactive soundscape consisting of 192 dynamic tracks. Nothing captures the game's thematic resonance quite like the pivotal vocal track, Unshaken. The core lyric of that anthem is actually drawn directly from an Eastern proverb by spiritual teacher Paramahansa Yogananda, who urged his followers to remain steady amidst the crash of breaking worlds. These sensory details, the pastoral lighting, the turbulent weather, and the responsive score, act as active participants in the storytelling. They are engineered to sustain the specific atmosphere of a gang in the middle of a terminal decline. When the emotional climax finally hits, it hurts. You have spent 80 hours feeding, grooming, and surviving as Arthur Morgan, which makes his final physical failure and the ultimate betrayal by his family feel entirely personal. Left with a final moral choice between loyalty to the money and ensuring his friend's survival, a high-honor Arthur buys time for others to escape. He succumbs to his illness while facing the sunrise, achieving a spiritual victory in total physical defeat. The game then transitions to an epilogue starring John Marston. We see exactly what Arthur's sacrifice bought: a few precious years of borrowed time for John to build a family and a small farm. But there is a bitter irony to this ending. The final moments show agents from the Bureau of Investigation spying on the ranch, foreshadowing that the modern world will inevitably arrive to crush this fragile piece. Friction and labor are the bedrock of the game's emotional impact. By requiring the player to navigate these slow, physical constraints, Rockstar creates a deep level of immersion that makes the eventual narrative turns feel significant and personal. The game achieves the status of a masterpiece because it uses obsessive simulation to build a genuine human connection. By the time the credits roll, Arthur Morgan no longer feels like a set of pixels, but like an old friend you are forced to leave behind.